So I just want to say welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining the afternoon session. I am Christina Watford, and I am on the Persistence to Graduation team in the Division of Student Success here at the Department of Education. And I'm going to share with you the Insights dashboards. So Insights provides a set of data visualization reports that allows users to customize reports around student assessment, attendance, classroom performance, stability, as well as behavior. Originally, this tool was designed to work and to be a companion tool with the early warning tool. So if you are familiar at all with the early warning tool, then you will understand that there is a score range that every student is assigned to in certain categories. And so initially, all of the reports were designed to filter only for students who had an early warning score between 50 and 100. The tool now allows you to set a filter and to customize and disable that particular feature if you want to pull data for all of the students in your building. And I will show you how to do that several times as we present and as we look at all of this. So this shows you all of the different dashboards that are available. We have an aggregation dashboard, an assessment, attendance. So each of those are the major categories, continuing on with behavior, classroom performance, and then stability. And then in blue, you can see all of the different reports that are available for users to be able to pull. So in our time today, we will not be able to go through all of these reports, but I do want to show you at least one or two reports under each of the dashboards and specifically focus on how users can customize the information and make it useful to you in your individual role within the school setting. The good news is that Insights is available to all users in Kentucky at no additional cost. It comes just as a part of the Campus Analytics Suite. And so all users statewide have access. However, they do have to be granted rights. And we do recommend that you use some discretion around who is granted rights, simply because there is a lot of personally identifiable information for both students and for teachers that can be pulled on these reports. And so schools and districts just want to really think through once you have an opportunity to get in and to look at the dashboards, you just really want to focus on who would benefit from being able to view this data in order to make some big level decisions in your building. And the nice part about the reports is that it allows you to look at trend level data, as well as dig down pretty deep into individual student level data, as well as some classroom performance data as well. So just want to make sure everyone is aware, once we leave the meeting today, you have several different ways that you can connect and dig in a little bit deeper on this. Number one, Campus Community has an entire series of knowledge base articles that users can go in and read. So each one of those reports has a specific knowledge base article. We also have access to some videos, a video training series in Campus Passport. So once you get into Campus Community, there is a little tab or button at the top bar in Campus Community for Campus Passport. If you click on that, and then if you go in and you type in Insights and click search, then it will bring up a video series. I do recommend that you take a look at that video series. It's broken down into some different user groups, but all of the videos are really very useful to users and will help to cover a lot of this information again. You also will have some additional resources posted on the Early Warning and Insights Hub that the Persistence to Graduation team has put together. We don't have a whole lot of Insights resources posted there right now. There are a couple, but there are more that will come in the next couple of months. And so we will have a couple of videos that we get posted on there as well that will help to walk people through the dashboards as well. And then finally, rounding out your opportunities to be able to connect further, we're going to move really quickly today. And there are a lot of reports, and we won't be able to spend a lot of time on each one, but just know that if something sparks your interest and you want to reach out to someone on the Persistence to Graduation team and schedule additional training, for your district, then we come in and we will do district level trainings for administrators, counselors, central office staff, anyone that you feel would benefit from being trained on the Insights dashboard. So you're welcome to email any one of the four of us, and we will gladly set up a time to come in and work with you all directly and be a little more detailed and a bit more extensive in the training. So I am going to share my screen at this point. So this is the new view of Infinite Campus. And so when you are in the new view of Infinite Campus, you will notice that under the main menu on the far left-hand side, Insights is its own entity. So you don't have to follow any other pathway. If you see it, you have rights to it. If you don't see it, you have not been granted rights to it. So you would want to talk with your information system officer and see if they can help to get you rights. So when you click on Insights, this shows you all of the dashboards that are available, as we talked about before, as well as all the individual reports that are available. So what we are going to do today is we're going to start with its absenteeism tier report. So as you can see, this provides you the data in a very visual format. This is our chart format. I mentioned at the very beginning that this was initially designed to pull data for students with an early warning score between 50 and 100. However, if you want to turn that off, then on each of the reports, you'll want to go into this filter, click on the filter. Any place that you see EW, that stands for attendance. So this particular report is pulling early warning attendance data for students between 50 and 100. And I know that because there is a little filter icon that is beside early warning attendance. So if I open that up, and I select all, it now pulls in the early warning scores for all of the students in my building, and it is no longer filtering for just those students with an early warning attendance score of 50 to 100. I will click apply, and when I do that, it changes my data a little bit. If I come over here, I can see that my attendance data is broken down in the less than 5% category. So these are students who have missed less than 5% of the school days. 5 to 9% of the school days. Third category is 10 to 14%. And then we move on from 15 to 19%, 20 to 29%, and then students who have missed over 30% of the school days. You can also see that there is a legend down at the bottom, and these are all common features to all of the reports. You'll always see a legend. The reports are pretty self-explanatory when you open them up, so it makes it very easy to tell exactly what you're looking at. But this is broken down by grade level. So each grade level has a color-coded bar. If I hover over any one of these bars, it will give me the aggregate data count for that particular bar. So in this particular case, we're looking at 9th grade in the less than 5% category, and we can see that there are 181 students in that 9th grade category for less than 5% missed days. If I double click that, it takes me to a details report. Inside of this details report, I can sort my information by any of these columns simply by clicking up here at the very top of the column. So in this case, student name, we can see it's not alphabetized. If I click, sorry, there we go. If I click, then you can see I very quickly alphabetized my list, or I could sort by another column if I wanted to. Anytime I'm inside of a details report, if I have additional information that I really wish that I had on the report, but I don't see it, if I come over here to this little side arrow on a details report, I can open it up. Anything that has a check mark is already listed as a column of data on my report. And if I want to add additional information, anything that is not check marked, I can very quickly add just by placing a check mark. So let's just say, for example, that it would be helpful for me in my role to know the student gender and the student race and ethnicity. If I check those two boxes on this report and click apply, you can see that I have very quickly added in student gender and race and ethnicity to my report. And I really didn't have to do a whole lot of work in order to get that. So I'm going to close out of this. I want to show you that inside of this filter, there are other options that I could click on. So if I just wanted to filter down and look at one of those specific absenteeism tiers, let's say, for example, I only want to focus on the students who have missed over 30% of the school time, I can take all of the others out. I can click apply. Now I just have the data that's available for students who have missed over 30%. If I want to add all of my grade levels back in, click of a button, I can very easily add it back in. And so you can see that there are multiple categories over here where you can pull and filter additional data. You can also always, if you don't see something over here in a filter, but you are hopeful that maybe you could add some additional filters, you can come up here to fields. Anything over here in the fields column that doesn't have a check mark is information that you can add in and apply, and then possibly give yourself some additional filters in order to look at over here. So a couple of other features to highlight is that this happens to be a chart view, and this is a column chart view. I could also change this to a bar chart. I could change it to a scatter plot. If that would be useful for you, you could also go to stacked column. You can see there are multiple different charts that you can look at. I happen to really like the stacked column. One of the reasons I like the stacked column is it still gives me my color-coded grade breakdown. But when you stack them, it will also give you an aggregate total for that entire column. So for example, before we could see that the 9th grade students there were 181, but I couldn't see the grand total, the number of students that happen to fall in that category. Now I can see that there is a grand total of 631 students in that particular column. So that's the chart view, but I also want to show you the grid view. So you'll notice if you hover over, you can get your aggregate counts and totals by hovering over each one of these color-coded categories. However, if you are like me and you're a details person and you just want to see what the numbers are, then you can also flip over to the grid view. So inside of the grid view, you can see we still have our less than 5%, our 5 to 9%. So we've got all of the same categories. And we've also got our grade levels, but we can just see the number of students that fall into each one of those categories. So in this particular school, we have 181 students in the 9th grade. I showed you that before. Remember, if we clicked on one of the color-coded bars on the chart view, you could get your details. You can also get your details by clicking on a cell here as well. And remember, I added in student gender, student race, and ethnicity. It is still there as long as I have not closed out of that particular report. I can also do the grand total. If I wanted to see all 631 students who happen to be in that less than 5%, it is right there. I can also see the grand total of all attendance categories for all of the students that are in the buildings. So I could click on the 769 and it would give me the details for all 769 of my students. Now, once you have a report set up and it is functioning the way that you want it to run, you have done all of your customizations, you've set all of your filters, and it's working just the way you want it to work, and you don't want to have to remember all of the steps that you took in order to get there, you can come up here to template and you can click Save New Template. You can title it. You can hit create, and then the next time you go in, all you have to do is select your template, and you can see I have created a couple of different templates from the initial report that I could use at any given time. So let's just say I take one of these, we'll apply it. You can see I've done some additional customizations in order to pull in a couple of other students and make sure that it's truly representative of all of the students in my building. If I double click and I have this details list, and I'm ready to do more with it or need to print it, want to send it to Excel, all I have to do is come up here to export. I can print, I can send it to a CSV, I can send it to an Excel. The Excel feature is actually really, really nice because once I send it over to Excel, all of the functions that are available to you in an Excel spreadsheet are now available to you for this data. So if you need to remove duplicates, you can do custom sorts. You can use functions to convert some of your data over into pivot tables. So it's a really useful feature in Insights to be able to send over to Excel. You also have the option of using your early warning watch list to filter students. So if you only want to view data for students who are on your early warning watch list, you can click on that Students tab. You can click on Watch List, and it will only display data for students who are on your watch list. If you are using counselor caseloads, special ed caseloads, any other caseload in Infinite Campus, you could also pull data just for students who are on your individual caseload. You also can use student ad hoc filters. So any ad hoc filter that you can create. Think your special ed students, your gifted and talented students, your 504 students, athletics, whatever you might need. Any student ad hoc filter that you can create, you can pull that in and it will only pull data for the students who are on that ad hoc. One additional nice piece about Insights is that you can stack these. So if you only wanted to look at, let's just say, for example, use an ad hoc filter for special ed students or 504 students or gifted and talented or athletics, and you only wanted to see the students who are also in that ad hoc filter group and on your watch list, then you could stack those, or on your caseload, again, you could stack those. Once you hit apply, it will only display data for students in that particular ad hoc group. So I want to show you, that's a very quick recap, or overview rather, of the absenteeism tier. I also want to show you reason by weekday. This particular report breaks down attendance data by weekday. So remember, we always want to go in, if we want to pull it for all of the students in our building, and change that early warning cell filter and hit apply. And then once we have done that, we are now pulling reason by weekday for all of the students in our building, just by clicking that button. If we come over here, and we can see down here at the bottom, it's given us our color-coded legends. We've got college visit, court visit, doctor's note, and the list continues, and it's got a scroll bar down here at the bottom so you can see what all of your color codes mean. But let's flip to the grid. So when we flip over to the grid, we can see that we have a count of attendance and a count of students for this particular report. So the count of attendance is telling us the total number of attendance events and the students who are involved in those attendance events. So we have a grand total of college visits of 12 students, of 12 events, and 2 students are involved. One thing I do want to point out about this report is that because we take attendance by period in Kentucky, each student is going to have multiple entries. That's why we have 12 events and 2 students. And when we open it up, we can see that it really is only 2 days of attendance events that are involved. That's because it's counting each period. This is where being able to send this information over to Excel, where you can remove duplicates, will really come in handy for you. So if we do a hard scroll all the way over here to the right-hand side, we can see the total count of attendance and the total count of students, and it's broken down by weekday. This could be really, really useful for you if you are looking at your assessment calendar and you're trying to pick the days of the week that are the least frequently missed days of the week. Maybe you have an assembly where you really want to make sure you're capturing the bulk of your student body. I'm just giving you a couple of examples how this might be useful for you. You could probably come up with 1,000 different ways that it's useful, but those are just a couple off the top of my head. But this really gives you very quick access and an easy view of the days that are the most frequently missed inside of your building. And again, if you click on these grand totals, you can take this big long report that's got 28,092 entries. You can send it over to Excel, and you can really clean it up by removing all of the duplicates if you really only want to see when students miss at any point during the school day and you don't want to see every period that they have missed. So for the sake of time, I want to move on to a behavior report, and we're going to look specifically at events by resolution and then events by staff. So events by resolution breaks behavior data down by the type of behavior event and the resolution that has been entered into Infinite Campus for the student. So this is I like the chart view because it gives a very, very good visual about what your resolution data looks like in your building. One thing on this report that my eye catches every time is the fact that in this particular building, and just so you all know, this is all staged data in a training site. So one of the things that stands out to me is that this out of school suspension column seems to be much larger than all of the other columns are. So there are a lot of out of school suspensions. But right next to it, we see parent conferences, and there is very little information that has been entered in around parent conferences. So I always like to take this opportunity to point out This is a great time for us to remember that data quality going into Infinite Campus is going to determine the data quality of what comes out on these reports and how useful the information is to you. If parent conferences are on your discipline matrix as a first step in the resolution system, then you would want to make sure that you are entering that information so that it will show up on your reports. So this is a great way for administrative teams to sit down and to calibrate and to think through what they really need to do and what processes they need to clean up to make sure that everyone who is entering in behavior resolution data or any data that's going into any of these reports is finely tuned so that the data is meaningful for you whenever you go to print the reports. And again, if you wanted to just filter down by a specific resolution, you could do that. If you just wanted to look at your in-school and your out-of-school suspension data, for some reason, you could change it to a different chart view if you really wanted to like do a deep dive. You can also always flip over to your grid view. So one thing that I do want to show you on this particular report, I'm going to add all of the behavior resolutions back in. Oops, sorry. I'm going to add all of them back in. We can go back to our stacked column view. But if we come over here to the grid, we can again see that there are a count of behaviors and there are a count of students. So we can see that there are 4 behavior events around alcohol possession and only 1 student that has been involved in all 4 of those. 2 for alcohol use, and again, only 1 student is involved. If we do a hard scroll over here, we can see all of our behavior data. So in this particular school, we can see that there are 120 behavior events and 81 students have been involved. I can click on either one of these and it will give me the exact same details view. But once I have all of my data pulled on this details report, I can come over here and it would probably be important for me to know incident date, incident location, and incident time. I can now apply that and I can very quickly see, and I could sort, I could put all of my athletic field incidences in one place, the bus events, you can see that they're all in order now. And so this gives me some great information if I need to maybe tighten up on supervision in certain areas of my building, and I want to have the data to be able to back up why we're making those changes and why we're asking people to take supervision in a different area or at a different time. Now we have data that we can show them about why we need to do that. And I didn't really have to do very much work at all in order to be able to pull that data in. It was really relatively very, very easy for me to do that. So that's a quick overview of that particular behavior report. I also want to show you an events by staff. And this is one where I like to switch over to the stacked column. So in this stacked column view, I can very easily see who is writing behavior referrals in my building. And then down here at the bottom, each one of my colors is in my legend down here at the bottom. So I know what they all are. Again, I can hover over any one of them. I could double click on that. It will send me to the details view. But whenever I look at this, what stands out to me is Mr. Collins. So maybe Mr. Collins is an assistant principal and he's the one who is tasked with entering in all of the behavior data. I would want to have a conversation with him if that's the case and make sure that when he is entering in that data that he is also tagging the person who originally wrote the referral so that it's distributed amongst the people who are actually writing the referrals to make the behavior data meaningful to you. It could be that Mr. Collins is a classroom teacher and maybe he really needs some support around classroom management. It could be that he is a person who is floating through your building all throughout the day. He's just like it's his job to help us capture students and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And if not, then to handle that. So there could be multiple reasons why his column is so much higher than everyone else's, and knowing your staff will help to make that data meaningful to you. You can also just filter out and look at it just by one individual teacher. You could also break it down and look at it just by a specific date if you wanted to be able to do that. You probably need to go into fields and add in incident date to do that. I'll show you very quickly. Once you do that, it then adds an incident date filter. And here you could go in and you could use this label. And if you only wanted to look at what behavior data looked like within a certain range, you can use the between category in the calculated values. If I can find it. Yep, there it is. You can use between, and then you could just enter in a date range. So super useful and helps you to narrow down the data if you just want to look at a specific date range to be able to do that. So to make sure we can cover some of the other reports, I want to jump over to a percent tier by course report, because this will show us a couple of other features I want you to be aware of. So this gives a lot of data. Just want to show you that anytime you see a plus, there's additional data that you can break out for that particular category. And you can also very easily close it down. So just to show you a quick example, and to narrow this down for us, if you just wanted to look at biology and you click your little plus down here, it breaks it down by the teacher. So again, this is why we say some of this can be really sensitive information and why we encourage schools and districts to use discretion around maybe who has access to some of these. There's also a percent tier by student report that could really be useful. This is breaking it down into score bands for courses, so 0 to 64%, going all the way over to 90%. If you just wanted to look at students who were failing or close to failing, you could very easily go in and just pull in that 0 to 64%. And then from here, you can even sort that. So these are all of your students who are failing all of the classes in their schedule versus the students who are failing only 1 or 2. So just very quickly covering some of the information that's available. There are also some assessment reports that you can pull around KSA data. You can also pull ACT data. If you want to know how to pull ACT specific data, reach out to me and I have some instructions that I can send to you around that. You can also pull data that you have entered in for things like the civics test, if you are manually entering that into the assessment tab, as well as MAP data or any formative assessment data that you are entering in to the assessment
Christina,
tab. Yes.
I'm giving you a time check like you asked me to do.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you. So just know that you can pull reports around any assessment data that is entered into Infinite Campus. Under stability, probably the one that's used the most is going to be the enrolled by status reports. So this one gives you data broken down by the enrollment code for individual students. And then the last thing that I want to show you today will be the aggregation screen. So the aggregation screen allows users to pull up into 4 different quadrants a report of your choosing that is useful to you in your individual role. And all you have to do is come down here to configure. You choose the one that you want in each quadrant. If you have created your own template, so you've gone in and customized and you've made the report do what you need it to do as an individual user, you could pull in a template. So you can see that I have actually pulled in a template for my first upper left quadrant. And then once you have all of your quadrants set, you just simply hit save. Once you have done that, you can see that it will give you those aggregate data counts. You can double click and it will also take you to details. You will also notice that you can pull in a grid view of an aggregate report. What you can't save to the quadrants will be one of these details reports. So if you want to see the data in a details report, you do have to open up either by clicking on the bar or opening up the report itself if you want to see a larger view of the report. So just be aware that you cannot pull in a details report, but you can pull in any of the aggregate reports. There is so much to Insights. I usually take about an hour and a half in order to cover everything thoroughly. So in this short time frame, I just want to remind you that if this has sparked your interest at all, we would be happy to come in and work with you in your district further. Just reach out to one of us. And then don't forget that you also have access to some resources and Campus Community and Campus Passport as well. If there are any questions, please put them in the Q&A and we will make sure that we get those questions answered for you.
Christina, that
And
was
you all
a
have a
great
great-
job. There was only one question and I've answered it. Is there a charge for the district training for insights? And I said there was not a charge from KDE staff nor the resources that are available to Infinite Campus community. But that's the only question you had.
Yes, thank you so much. And we love coming in to train on this tool. So please let us know if we can help you. And we will also do Teams calls too. So if you just have a couple of quick questions and you want to schedule a Teams call, we can do that as well.